Shrivasangam Mahoraskam Vanamala Virajitam Shankachakradharam Devam Krishnam Vande Jagaguru. I bow to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, who holds the shank and the conch and the discus in his hands and is adorned with a garland of wildflower flowers. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvina Atitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Let us be protected. Let us be nourished. Let our studies be done with enthusiasm. Let them take us to the highest, and let us not ever have cause to fight with each other. Let there be peace in the world, peace in our society, and peace within us. Hari Om Tat Sat. So happy to see all of you again. Today we are having our 5th class on the Udhhava Geeta. The weather is not so good. Let us hope that Vanamali himself will take over and allow us to continue without any interruptions from the weather. Okay, Hari Om. So today this, just a minute, I think this one is not on. Is it on? Oh dear. Okay, not coming on. Okay, anyway, we'll continue this. It doesn't seem to be working, but anyway, that hardly matters. So, we are now, he told us about the Guru-Shishya relationship. And he explains in this, starts this session with the words that, the Guru-Shishya relationship is compared to the ancient method of making fire for yajnas. It's called Agni Madhana. And it is done with the bottom piece is a wooden piece with a hollow in the middle, and which is compared to, it is called the Arani. And the Guru is compared to the Arani. And the Shishya, there's a top piece with another wooden piece, which is known as Uttarani. And with that, some bits of grass or something is put in the bottom thing, and it is kept on whirling like this until at last fire springs out of it. That's the ancient method of it. And with that, they used to light the fire for the yajna. So the Guru is compared to this, and the Shishya to the Uttarani, and by the Shishya keeping on asking the Guru question after question after question, as we see here, both in here and in the Bhagavad Gita. Here Uddhava keeps asking questions. And what is produced is the knowledge. That fire which lit is the knowledge. So this is which ignites the grass, you see, and makes it. So as the fire, and that fire is which is taken by the disciple and given to everybody else. So this knowledge is the knowledge which Guru gives is what which takes away all the ignorance which is a product of the gunas. As you know, the gunas are the three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas, as he has said before, are the means by which that unbounded Atman thinks itself to be bound by this body-mind intellectual system. So, in fact, it is a mixture of the three gunas in each one of us that makes each one of us different from the other. Otherwise, we are just a combination of this, the Atman and the Anatman, which is made up of the body and mind and intellect. Then everybody should be the same. But we are not the same because of the admixture of the gunas. Everything in nature, including I mean, everything like the trees and the leaves and the water and everything is an admixture of these gunas. In physics, also, they have recognized them. They're subtle forces. They're not concrete forces. But in physics, they're recognized as kinesis is rajas on one side. On the other side is inertia, which is tamas. And in between is the harmonious principle called sattva or harmony. So these keep rotating in our nature. And in the external nature also. Okay? So this is how the differences we find excuse me, this has gone somewhere. Okay, this is how we find the differences which we find in nature and in us. So how do we understand what is good and what is bad? It is by those which spiritual people recommend will be sattvic in nature, what they condemn will be tamasic in nature, and what they ignore will be rajasic in nature. So for the development of sattva, now this whole thing is about the development of sattva. He should the person or the devotee or the inquirer after this thing should be associated with the sattva developing entities. Now he said there are 10 things in the world, each which actually bind us to the world, which actually bind us. These are the things the way we associate with these 10 things, which actually is what and each of these things have 3 gunas. So I will describe the 3 gunas in each of these things, and we are supposed to associate with the sattvic and not with the other 2. These 10 are the scriptures, water, human beings, places, time, meditation, actions, initiation, mantras and samskaras. So these 10 objects have all these 3 gunas in them. Now I will be telling you the 3 gunas attached to each of these things. And the first will be sattvic, second rajasic, and the third tamasic. Okay. Now scriptures. Scriptures, the sattvic portion of the scriptures are those scriptures which deal with renunciation. Those scriptures will tell you about how to gain that knowledge, or how to attain union with that supreme will be considered sattvic. Those who give you knowledge of worldly benefits, many scriptures will tell you if you do this and that, you will get a lot of worldly benefits. Though those dealing with worldly benefits are considered as rajasic. And those dealing with atheism and who try to take you away from this great knowledge is known as tamasic in nature. Now, again, what is next one on the list is water. Now, water again has 3 this thing. Holy water, like water which we get from the temples, or water, river water, rain water, all this type of, this is called holy water. Holy water is sattvic in nature. Fragrant water like perfumes and so on is rajasic in nature. And of course, liquor is tamasic in nature. Okay? Now, next, human beings. How are we to differentiate between human beings? In those endowed with the renunciation, those who have talked to you or tell you about renunciation, or who live a life of renunciation, their very life, the actions itself show that they are renunciates actually. Those will be sattvic in nature. Those who are constantly engaged in worldly matters, naturally, they will be rajasic in nature. And those who are always after sinful things, gambling, drinking, talking ill of others, trying to do harm to others, such people will be definitely tamasic. So remember, in all these 10 things, we should note down the sattvic aspect of each of these 10 and try to associate with that. Now, places. Next, he gives places. Solitary places are sattvic in nature. That is why when you first start your sadhanas and take to a spiritual path, we don't like to mix too much with people. Somehow or other they upset us. So at that time, until you're truly well baked, I would say, you should not engage yourself with too many people. So such people, solitary places are supposed to be sattvic in name. Crowded places are naturally rajasic in nature. And gambling places and drinking bars and gambling dens, etc., naturally are tamasic in nature. Now, next is time. Time is early morning, 4 a.m., 3, 4, 5, 6 a.m., etc. That is Brahma Muhurtam is obviously sattvic in nature. Late evenings are rajasic in nature. That's why people go partying and gambling and so many things. These are called rajasic in nature. And midnight, when people sit up at midnight, and that is that time is considered as tamasic in nature. Because again, you must understand these timings that we've already discussed this in the question of Brahma Muhurta. These particular timings actually have a great the force that gets is from the cosmic rays itself. The cosmos itself has different types. It keeps rotating. And the best rays are given at Brahma Muhurtam time, and the worst in midnight, and in between rajasic. Now, actions. What are the actions which are sattvic rajasic? Let's say actions which are duties ordained by scriptures and one's stations in life. Those are considered sattvic in nature. Those duties which are ordained by the scriptures and by one's station in life, which we have again and again, your swadharma, that is considered to be sattvic. Now, desire-prompted actions naturally will be rajasic in nature. Desire-prompted, which only our own, desire-prompted actions will always be selfish actions, which we want only for ourselves. Such actions will be considered as rajasic in nature. And black magic, when those who deal with black magic and some ujar, this thing, and lower types of rituals which try to invoke lower types of beings in order to do harm to others, these will be considered as tamasic. Now, meditation. Now again, even meditation can have three aspects. Everything in life has three aspects. That is the amazing thing. That when we meditate on that Supreme Lord, naturally that is sattvic. When we are constantly thinking, this meditation is called meditation also, constantly thinking worldly activities, worldly matters, how should I do this now, how should I lead my life tomorrow, what will I get if I do this, this sort of, which most of us are always engaged in such things. When that is known as rajasic meditation, and those who are constantly brooding on their enemies, oh, that wretch, I wish I will do such a thing, I'll try to get him and I'll get his things from him and I will throttle his business so I can take it all to myself. So always concentrating on one's enemies and thinking such selfish and evil thoughts, actually, that will be considered as tamasic. Now what about mantras? Mantras like pranava mantra, and those for spiritual progress, like all of us have mantras for spiritual progress. All the great mantras that you have been given by your, all the things which have, these are all, these type of mantras are naturally sattvic in nature. Mantras which we can also, Hinduism caters to everything. That's another funny thing. Those mantras which are given for worldly gains, if you pronounce, say some mantras, there's mantras which will invoke Kubera, which will give you worldly gains, which will give you money and so on, health, wealth, and some beauty and so on. There are such mantras. They are considered to be rajasic. And those mantras which invoke evil spirits, even that is found in Hinduism. Atharvaveda Veda has a lot of those mantras. They are considered to be tamasic. Now, next is samskaras. Samskaras, as you know, Hindu samskaras are very many. From birth to death, I have written a blog on some Hindu samskaras. From birth to death, we have samskaras by which we are given a method by which we get to the next stage of life. As soon as we are born, we have them. Then as soon as we are given a name, we have samskara. Even within the womb, we have one samskara. when the child in the womb has a samskara. Starting from that up to Antyeshti, or the last death rites, we have samskaras. Now, those samskaras will lead to the purification of the mind. They can be naturally known as sattvic. Those samskaras will pay attention only to beautifying all our body and all such sort of thing like that, mainly attention to material and bodily needs, will be considered as rajasic. And those samskaras will teach you to clean up unholy places. Going to unholy places like the cemetery, and doing things over there and things like that, that can be called tamasic. Those are called tamasic. Now, amongst, as I said, all these 10, the first of each category is sattvic and should be cultivated. So the knowledge imparted by the Guru removes this delusion and also extinguishes itself like fire in the fruit. Because even that knowledge actually stops you from union. So it's like fire. The fire, in a forest of bamboos, how is it created? By friction of the bamboos. And that fire which is created itself, it burns up the whole forest and eventually dies and subsides itself. So also the fire of knowledge which is kindled by the Guru and the following of these delusions, and ultimately destroys that very illusion that one is the body and the mind, and then eventually that I die, that I am doing something, that I am the doer, that I am the one me, when I say I or me, what I am saying is only the mind, body and intellect. That is the greatest illusion of all. And that is that eventually that fire, because of the fire of knowledge which is lit by the Guru, that is also consumed. So you must realize that this Udhhava Geeta is actually much more than the Bhagavad Gita. It's always talking about the highest. How do I attain the highest? How do I get interpreted? So all the time these sort of ideas are given, because they're very good ideas, because even though we may not be able to follow them all the time, I may not always be conscious of the fact that I am that, I have to attain that, but yet when we reiterate this, when we read this again and again, that idea will come back to our mind. And our attachment and clinging attachment to worldly things will slowly become less. We will realize that this is nothing. This is part of that dream show which we have been taking part in. So that illusion itself, by that knowledge, that illusion itself dies, a natural death. Now, Uddhava says, even though most people know that these sense objects lead to disaster. That means people who are even a little bit of this knowledge, they all know that sense objects will lead us to disaster. Of course, those who have never heard of such thing will never even think of it, and they'll have to take on janma after janma, incarnation after incarnation, in order to even understand what we are talking about. So, but even those who know, like all of us for instance, we know that sense objects will lead us to disaster, yet we follow it. Uddhava is asking all this for the people. What is it that makes a person follow these sense objects, even though they know that it will lead to disaster? So Lord Krishna says, when we have absolute identification with the body, when I think that I am the body and the mind alone, then that mind is overcome by rajas. That mind is fully rajasic. I think I'm only the body, because everything that affects the body immediately affects me. Actually, because mind and body are so closely connected. Everything that happens to the body immediately affects me. So that mind is overcome by rajas. It keeps making plans, sankalpas, brooding on material objects, and by thinking of them, the desire to possess them also increases. When we keep on thinking, I have an old car, I should change it, maybe electric car. We keep on thinking such things. We keep on thinking of material objects. Naturally, the desire to possess them all also will increase. And all my actions then at that time will be towards that. How to get a car, how to make this thing, and it eventually will end in misery, because that car or that thing you're running after is not going to be the end of your dreams. If it was, then you could go and get it. But no, the moment you get one object or one desire fulfilled, immediately another desire rises in its place. The only desire, like the fire which dies out by itself, the only desire which never makes another desire is the desire for the Supreme, which ends in a total absorption in Him, and therefore, like that fire, it dies by itself, and there's nothing left. So, if such a man, but supposing this man who's running after these objects, suddenly he hears Udhhava Geeta, he hears something say about something or other, and he realizes, oh my God, I have never understood that the evil effects of such action. And he starts to discipline himself through some sadhana, say asanas, pranayama, meditation, etc., which I've been always advising you. Supposing that man decides that this is what is leading me to misery. All the misery in my life is caused by the fact that I run after this mind which runs after the sense objects and which is never satisfied until it gets its full sense object. So, which eventually leads you to misery. So he will be able to shake off this pull of the rajas, which is lead to his downfall. So then Lord Krishna says, this is he is going to tell you the great this is called the Hamsa Geeta. The advice, he says, I will tell you, Uddhava, I'll tell you about the discourse I gave long ago to the Sanat Kumaras. The Sanat Kumaras were 4 boy sages. They are the mind-born sons of Brahma, the creator. So they're 4. They are highly evolved people. They never, even by age-wise, they will not increase their age, because they're always pickled in the bliss of that Supreme. But in order actually to help us, they ask this question. So, this is known as the Hamsa Geeta, because Bhagwan, Uddhava asked him, when and how did you give this instructions to the Sanat Kumaras? Where did you give this? They're known as Sanaka, Sanadana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumara. There are 4. They all look alike. They were 12 years old, look only about 12 years old, even though very ancient they are. So once it is said that they came to Brahma, the Brahmaloka, and Sanaka asked, the mind is naturally drawn to sense objects. How can it be weaned away from them? This very question was Uddhava asked. How a man, even though he knows that sense objects will create his downfall, yet how is it that we keep on running after them? So, and the question was, how can we, Uddhava asked was, how can we take away? And Krishna's answer was the answer he gave in the form of a swan to the Sanat Kumaras. Brahma could not answer them. So Brahma thought of Krishna, who came to him in the form of a swan, Hamsa. That's why this is known as the Hamsa Geeta. This portion is known as the Hamsa Geeta. And see, how does this attraction for sense objects come? The mind comes into the sense objects. I see something. How do they come into sense objects? The sense objects will enter the mind. How do they come? Through impressions. The 5 senses are the methods by which gathers information of the whole world. These 5 senses, even one sense is less, that much less we know of the world, isn't it? If I'm blind, that much less I know of the world. If my hearing is weak, that much less I can't hear any songs, I can't hear the sound of the wind, nothing. So each of these sense objects are clever and very perfect in their own way. They know exactly, and they only follow one. They know one thing, the ear can only hear, it cannot smell. The eye can only see, it cannot taste. Similarly, these sense objects are experts. They are experts in their own field, specialists in their own field. So they go after these things. So the mind, and they bring the experiences and fill up the mind with it. So the mind, which is connected with the sense objects, are only, they do only that they don't understand, they does not understand that these are only kind of, it's an adjunct. This Atman, the Jivatma in us is always there, but we think it is covered with this mind, body, mind objects. This idea should be understood, that the Atman is not covered by all this. The Atman stands by itself. It is nothing but that Brahman, and I myself are nothing but that Brahman. These are only adjuncts which are come to that. So everything is the Brahman alone. The states of mind like waking, dreaming, sleeping are all modes of the intellect. These three states. And by this only, by understanding this, listen to this carefully, by understanding this, we can understand how we are fooled into believing. Now, as I said, this is more easier for us to understand today, because we know of things like the virtual reality and so on. These games which children play. That reality is a different reality from this world. And that we play, when you play the game, we put on the headphones, and immediately we are projected into another new reality. Similarly, the headphones that every human being is born with is the mind. Using that mind, we create a reality which is not really real. It is unreal. We can never see the real, mind you. We can never see the real. Whatever we see is unreal. Whatever we know through the five senses is unreal. The real we can never see. We can only experience. So, these states of mind are only modes like sleeping, waking, sleeping, and these are three states of consciousness which we all know: waking, dreaming, and sleeping. The waking state is same for every of us. We all see the same thing, but of course colored by our own ideas and mind. When you go to sleep and you start dreaming, then only I know my dream. Then you go to deep sleep, only I know my deep sleep. So, there is a witness to these three states, isn't it? There is a witness. Because when you wake up, you can say, oh, I had a terrible dream. And then you can say, and after that, I had a beautiful sleep. Who is this I? Who is this I who was watching the dream? Who is the I who was watching the deep sleep? That is the same I which considers I, when I talk about I, me, when in the waking state. That is the fourth state. The waking state is one. Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti is called. The three states are known as Jagrat, Swapna, and Jagrat is the waking state. Swapna is the dream state. And Sushupti is the deep sleep state. Beyond that is something called the Turiya state, the fourth state of consciousness, Turiya state, which is what I am. Because that is the state which is always there, present in all the other three states. If that state was not there, this drama of our life could not be played. The drama of our life with different states actually played on the screen of this Turiya state, which is existent all the time. Just like the drama on a TV screen can be played only because of the white, formless, colorless, qualityless, and non-shakeable screen, white screen of the TV. If that screen was also changing and had colors, the pictures on that would be meaningless. The pictures are being projected, and they are waves, and we see them, and we experience them with our five senses. But none of these would have meaning if not for the white screen of the TV behind. So similarly, that screen, the Turiya state, is known as that screen. That screen is a Turiya state, which has no connection with anything. It is only the witness. So on that screen, Turiya screen, all this waking, dreaming, and sleeping states, these are being projected. So we see, we think we are experiencing, but how do we know? Who is it who knows? There is one entity which knows all these three states. That is the Turiya state. That is what I am. That is my real I. I am not these three states of. So that the person who does not know this, a person who does not know this, is totally, involved in this world of action and thinks it is real. And this causes infinite sufferings, as you know. When we think, I am doing all this, I am seeing all this, the I, my body, mind, intellect, then it causes infinite suffering. Hence, the wise man, he says, should think of, this is all a bondage actually, and this passion for these things of the world, which the five senses tell us are real, and which actually are not real. We must again and again reiterate the fact that I am the witness of all these. I am not the enjoyer of this thing. I am only the witness. What enjoys and what apparently enjoys are these accoutrements which I have. This is the fourth and the Turiya state. As long as a person has not overcome this sense of numerous things that we see in the world, there's a number of things, that duality, manifold, not only dual but manifold. As long as we indulge ourselves in the thought that this is a the world of duality, he is only a dreamer, he said. Actually, he's a dreamer. He thinks he's wakeful and seeing everything, but actually he is a dreamer, though apparently awake. He's like the somnambulist, he says. Somnambulism, some children, sometimes even adults, they get up in their sleep and start walking. They start walking and going everywhere. Apparently he's awake, but actually he's dreaming because he doesn't know anything about it. Next, you slowly take him back to his bed and put him back. Next day you ask him, where did you go in the night when you got up? He has no idea. So we are all like this, somnambulists. We think we are awake, but we are really dreaming. The whole thing is a dream. All entities other than the Atman are false. Anything that is not the Atman is false. Why? Because what is the condition of reality? It should remain the same in all the three states of consciousness. That is waking, dreaming and sleeping. It should remain the same in all these three states. It should remain the same in all the three states of time. Past, present and future. Only such a thing can be called real. But that which keeps changing, like our condition keeps changing. In one day we have all these three. Waking we have, dreaming we have, sleeping we have. So when that entity which is not affected by the waking, the dreaming and sleep, only that entity can be called real. Not the other three which are constantly changing. Okay? So similarly, all the entities other than the Atman are really false, because they don't exist during the three states of the mental state, nor do they exist in the three states of time. That is the qualification of true reality, that which exists in all the three states of time and all the three states of consciousness. So actually speaking, all the things we practice in the world, like the rituals, the varnashrama order, duties, religious practices, heavenly regions of which we are thinking of, all are false. Like the things seen and dreamed. Really, this is really very high philosophy. It takes you to heights to realize that all these things, we have to understand that if you understand all this, you can still enjoy life, you can still go and do things in life, but with the firm understanding that I am the witness only. I can do anything, but I will not be affected. My mind will not be affected. I will not cling to it. All of us are like that, jackfruit tree. You touch one fruit and it's clinging. It's very sticky, very sticky. We stick. When we see something, when we enjoy something, immediately our mind sticks to it. This man, actually, he knows this. The whole thing is a drama. Whole thing. All the religious things we are doing, all the is the same as the subjective experiences during sleep and dream. All these things, like as I said, anything that we are doing in this thing. But the only thing which is the reality is that witness or that that self which knows all this, which experiences all this, and has realized that these come and go, but I remain, that I remains. See, he's a master, a witness of all these movements of the body mind, which is a product of the gunas. These are all products of the gunas. But that witness does not come under the sway of the gunas. Now, the continuing memory of these things, which these things are changing, continuous memory of these various things is a proof of that unitary witnessing principle. That there is one principle, one I, which exists through all the changes of both the physical body and the mental body and the deep sleep and the dreamer. All. There is one unitary I, witnessing principle in all these things. That alone is real. And that, if you understand that, it is actually a solid proof that such a thing exists. Otherwise, we will have no idea, you will have no memory of these things. But you have, somewhere you witnessed all this. That is the proof of the fact that such a principle does exist. Then, when you think about this, a true aspirant for freedom, for liberation, should think about all this. And so, we must think that even these three states of consciousness are only a manifestation of the gunas of Prakriti. Even these three states. What about by Maya, by itself, which is only the product of that Brahman, And whenever Krishna says I in all these next verses, remember he is totally submerging himself in that Brahman, which alone is the true witness and which is a true enjoyer and this thing of everything that's happening. So the Lord says, let him sharpen the sword of reason and cut the very root of the doubt and surrender to the Supreme in his own heart. So this is how we should understand that this idea is a very, very important idea for all of us to have. The idea that this world is actually only a dream world created by our mind, body and senses. And actually the only reality in this is that I, which sees everything, which remains the same throughout the vicissitudes of life. So withdrawing, which is only the divine power of Maya, Bhagavan's, that's gunas only, the divine power of Maya. So drawing attentions from this false world. So the one who is interested in liberation, again and I'm telling you, he is taking us to the very highest, withdrawing attention from these false world, uncaring of the enjoyments it can give. This world, why the enjoyment is it false? Because it does not last. We are after lasting joy. We want something which doesn't come and go. And this world can never give that. This world can never give that. Only thing which remains the same always is the bliss of that Atman, bliss of the Brahman. That has no opposite. Bliss has no opposite. Bliss means Ananda. It has no opposite. Other things all come under duality. Happiness means unhappiness, has to come. Joy means sorrow has to come. Day means night has to come. So only bliss is the same. So we all want something which remains the same. We want some happy thing which remains the same. If you want that, strive for bliss. That is the only thing which will give you constant, not happiness, but bliss, which is even more than that. So, of course, even such a person, the world will keep intruding on you. The world is not going to leave you that easily. So, not only that, your past tendencies will pull you. You've given up, say you've been a drunkard, you've given up drinking, or you're taking drugs, you've given it up. But your past tendencies will pull you. When you pass a bar, when you smell some alcohol, you may be tempted. But it will slowly, that attraction for that will leave him because he knows they're unreal. And they will not lead him into the bliss which is actually what he wants. The body, and of course, you see the body of this liberated soul will keep lasting. it will last till all his prarabdha karma is over. What is prarabdha karma? That karma which he has got from previous life, by which this body has to enjoy or has to suffer the consequences of that karma rather. That prarabdha karma, as long as it is not over, the body will last. But even for the person who is in that, who is a knower, who has known that the I, he will not mind it. Okay, sometimes the body has diseases, sometimes the body feels painful, sometimes the body delights, sometimes has something. Neither of it will bother him, because he knows it's all a residue of that prarabdha karma which he has to, which the body has to suffer. He doesn't have to suffer because he is beyond the body. He doesn't have to suffer, but the body has to suffer. It is the law of karma. The nature will not let it go, because the body is a product of nature alone. And that which the body has done by itself with great intent in order to hurt somebody or to do good to somebody, that has to be enjoyed or punished in the body itself. So, but that will have not effect on this man who is above that. He will regard it as if it's a dream. So then eventually Swan concluded the whole thing with these words. So he says, I've given you the quintessence of yoga and Sankhya. These are yoga and Sankhya, Karma Yoga, and Sankhya Yoga is the Jnana Yoga. But remember, he said, I am the goal, the support and sustaining force behind all the values. I am the self in all, and therefore the dearest, only well-wisher of all. Remember that nobody can love you or wish you as much as I can. Who is the I he's talking about? That Brahman, that Paramatma, who in this case has been embodied as Lord Krishna and is giving the advice to the Sanat Kumara through the voice of the Hamsa. Hamsa is a swan. Why is the swan taken to be as a giver of these words? Because the swan apparently is something which has the ability to, if you give a pot of milk mixed with the water, the swan has the ability to drink the milk and take out the water. So that's why it's Paramahamsa. We have some great souls like Ramakrishna known as Paramahamsa. That is the great swan. That is the one who has, the person who knows the real from the unreal. That's why we are always as prayers are Sadoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Mridam Gamaya. So why we say that? From the unreal lead us to the real. So the man of enlightenment has differentiated, like the swan, between the milk and the water. He knows what is reality. He knows what is unreality. Therefore, this Hamsa Yoga is so he remembered that person should always remember. He always remembered that God alone is the sole goal, support, and only true well-wisher of not you or anybody else, but of the whole of humanity. In fact, the whole of the cosmos. The only well-wisher really. So, I say after that, the Sanat Kumaras were happy. Actually, the Sanat Kumaras are ever in that state of bliss, actually. But they ask these questions only for sake of all of us. And the Lord takes on this form of the Hamsa only for our sake, because He wants to enlighten us. So, the Sanat Kumar said this, and that's the end of the Hamsa Geeta. It's a small portion of the Udhhava Geeta. This self, as the Jivatma, under the influence of avidya, ignorance, pervades every point of the body. That is what you must understand. It is like a hand and a glove. The glove is there, but the glove is only a material thing. It is a hand that gives life to the glove, isn't it? The hand does this, the glove also does it. The hand opens, the glove also. Some glove puppets there. When the hand is the one that moves the puppet and makes it dance around. And the child is amazed when he looks at the puppet dance and is so happy. So the Jivatma, under the influence of avidya is ignorance, pervades every point of the body. And then, how is that Jivatma to remain free from the activities of the body? That is the question. So, having no, I mean, actually speaking, by using our brain, we can know that the Jivatma has no connection with this body, really speaking. It has no connection. Some prarabdha connection, some slight connection for which he has taken his body in order to finish off the prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma is from of his old karmas. That is why he has, but actually he has no connection at all with the body. So how does the jiva get tied to them? And what is the characteristics of the liberated person is the next question is asked by Uddhava. In fact, he asked, is it the one same jiva which is both bound and liberated? Can the jiva be both bound and liberated at the same time? Is it the same jiva or is it another jiva? Characters of Krishna is the characterization of a jiva as bound or emancipated. It depends totally on how much he is subject to the gunas of Prakriti, or how much he can get disconnected with the gunas of Prakriti. See, remember the gunas themselves are controlled by the Lord. So the characteristics of a bound soul and an unbound soul, how much is he connected with the gunas? It is like experience happiness or sorrow in a dream. In a dream which ceases on waking. The dreamer is a dreamer only so long as he dreams. When he wakes up, he becomes a waker. So the jiva is taken to suffer these bodily, which immediately gets finished off as soon as he reaches enlightenment. He suffers. He has to suffer from the body only as long as he thinks he's bound. It's like the dog on the chain. Dog, the dog, when you put a dog on a chain, so actually the dog is not on the chain. The owner comes and pretends that he's putting the collar and then the chain and then he's locking it. Actually, he does nothing at all. He goes off. Now, after he comes back for some time, he calls the dog, come on. The dog says, no, he can't come because he's bound. In his mind, he's bound. In his mind, he's bound. So what does the man do? He comes and pretends he's unbinding him, takes it off and does all these actions. Then the dog comes. Similarly, this is what is happening. We are not really bound. We are unbound. We are ever the free and eternal spirit, the Atman. But somehow or other we think we are bound. And it's a guru that comes and takes on. What does he do? He does actually no change to be taken up. There's nothing at all to be taken up. It is only a realization that he is free, so the man of knowledge, though he has a body, is not conditioned by it. Similarly, that man is not conditioned by it. He knows that he is not bound. Just as a dreamer, when he wakes up, is not affected by the dream. The dreamer is not affected. When you dream that you had a terrible, some disease, or that I was so hungry, when he gets up and he say, oh my God, I'm so hungry. Then I said, why are you hungry? You just got up and you had a good dinner. He said, oh my God, actually I'm not hungry. It's just that I was hungry in the dream. But the dreamer the hunger of the dreamer does not have to be the hunger of the waker. And it's not the hunger of the waker, isn't it? So similarly, just like the man who is not affected by the dream, so also the enlightened soul is not affected by this dream world in which he is living in. And he realizes that all his actions, he is not the doer of the action. These actions are done by the organs of action and the organs of perception. They are done by that. And actually, which is the instigator of the action is that prana, that force inside. Without that force, even the organs of action and the organs of perception cannot work. Because of the existence of that being, that Atman inside, that the organs of action, organs of perception can actually work. So, like that dreamer who understands this, that this also the waking man, the man of knowledge, he realizes that I am not the doer. The doer is only the sense organ and the organs of action, prompted by that Atma in myself. Okay? So such a person, he remains unaffected even though his senses are feeding on the he might be eating something. He said, oh yeah, very good meal, yeah, thank you very much, sir. But he is not affected by it. He does not crave for it afterwards. He enjoys it because his tongue is there. But it does not affect him anymore. He's not bound by the sense organs. Huh? So the Atman, actually speaking, his Atman is said to be bound or free only from the point of view of the gunas. The Atman is ever free. Like the Turiya state, the enlightened man is ever free. He is not bound by the dream state. He is not bound. In reality, the Atman also is never bound. But these gunas are only the products of Maya, which again is that Maya which comes from that Lord himself. So, actually speaking, in reality, there's neither bondage nor liberation. These are very high ideas, but you can think about them because that is the truth. This is like I told you, like the dog which thinks it is bound. He was never been bound, he was always free. But he thought he was bound, so he stayed there, refused to get up. So actually speaking, there is neither bondage nor liberation. This is the true liberated soul knows that I've never been bound. I'm always free. Shivoham, Shivoham. Like that, the poem, Shankaracharya's poem, I told you, the Sharashtakam, the hymn which he says when Gautapada asks him, who are you? And he gives that 6 verses, known as the Atma Shashtam. That is, I am not body, I am not the mind, I am ever free, I am Shivoham, Shivoham. So this is the greatness of that thing. So there's neither bondage nor liberation. All duality like joy and sorrow are due to Maya. It just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Which again is a fiction of the mind. That Maya itself is a fiction of the mind. This Maya world which you create actually is a fiction of the mind. As I said, nowadays it's more easy to understand because quantum physics tells us that matter is not solid matter as we think. It is only energy in motion. Matter is only energy in motion. So actually physics is coming to the same idea which was given to us so many centuries ago by Krishna, by all our rishis and so on. So matter is only that. So but what is through the Maya? We think that this is real. This is solid matter. I said matter itself is only Maya, which is Rishi said. But today the quantum physicist is also saying that. It's only energy in motion. What you think is solid matter is not solid at all. It's only a combination and play of protons, neutrons, electrons, sub-particles and so many things like that. So it's a huge drama. It's a huge Maya. It's like a magic show that we are watching. The magic show when we watch in this thing, we think the whole thing is real. Or somebody is flying across the stage, somebody is being sworn into two, somebody is dying, somebody is living. All this only a play of the mind. It does not really exist. Similarly, this great magic show, which the great magician has given to us, is only that understanding the great soul, the liberated show. So again, like all duality or joy, sorrow is only a figment of the mind. Also, transmigration is a figment. Who is to transmigrate to where? I'm ever full. I can go nowhere. I'm already full. Purnamada Purnamidam. That is full, this is also full. There is no question of going from anywhere, from here to there. From here to there is also here. Nothing else except exists beyond me, who is the Atman itself. So, you give you a better, a more concrete example. When you see the sun is reflected in different types of water. It can be reflected in clear water, it can be reflected in muddy water, it can be reflected in tar. Okay. In clear water, you can see the full sun. In muddy water, you can see only some form of sun. In the tar, you can't see it at all. Similarly, the reflecting medium of that sun of the Brahman, of that sun of the Atman, makes it seem different. When the mind is clear, crystal clear, and understanding all this, and there is a great idea that, I am not this, the senses, I am not that, I am not this, then there's full reflection of that. Full reflection. Then again, if the water shakes, the reflecting medium shakes, again there is a distortion, isn't it? So also when the mind is shaky, when it's frightened, it's troubled, similarly that reflecting, the sun itself becomes different. So again, similarly when that reflecting, the little pot is there, and you break the pot, what happens? That reflection goes back to the sun. It was only a reflection. It had no reality of its own. The reality is always the sun. But because of the reflection, it thought, the reflection was a certain period of time, the reflection thought, I'm different from the sun. So when the medium is broken, it returns back to the sun. Similarly, the jiva in ignorance experiences diversity all the time, whereas the jiva in whom ignorance has vanished realizes his identity with the Brahman. So this is only with examples we can really understand these great truths. They're very, very difficult. It's not easy to understand all these truths. We have already taken quite a number of these truths now. Please think about them, meditate upon them. And if you're coming tomorrow for the question and answer period, we can discuss further. Because today, I'm sorry, I don't look at who's appearing on this thing. I'm only concentrating on what we have to say. So this is I think we'll have to stop here. We have a few more minutes, but the example he realizes, he gives again is that of the great example of the two birds on a tree. This is taken from the Mundago Upanishad. Mundago is there is a tree. There is a tree on which two birds are sitting. That in that one bird is pecking at the fruits of the tree. Sometimes it is sweet and she's very happy. Sometimes she pecks something which is sour and she throws it out. Sometimes she pecks it bitter and she can't bear it and she gets angry and crying and so on. The other bird, on the other hand, just watches the antics of this bird. It never stirs. It's always there looking at this. Eventually, after having tasted, many years of having tasted the fruits of this tree of life, sometimes sour, sometimes sweet, sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes holy, sometimes unholy, all the little bird suddenly turns round and looks at the other bird who's always been sitting, who's always been her constant companion and has been sitting beside her for ever since she knows. I mean, she has. So the that bird is the Atman, that which is ever there, which is ever a witness to her little dances and her joys and her sorrows and so on. When that he sees that when the foolish one totally engages itself in the objects of the world, totally submerges into that joy and sorrow in the world of duality, such a person there. But when it realizes that there is something in itself, sitting on the same branch of the same tree, on whom nothing of this seems to affect. He's totally unaffected by everything that goes on with this in the tree of life. Then it gets liberated. So he's the wise one, even though performing actions, he has to perform all the actions of the body, but he is not bound by them. He has to perform because while you are in the body, there are certain things you have to do. So even though he keeps on performing all these and watching, but he's only a witness. He's watching the senses, enjoying the sense objects. He watches, yes, now this is sweet, now there's sour, now this is pleasant smell, now the bad smell, now I have a hurt on my arm, now my arm is quite okay. Similarly, like the bird who is unhampered by the frolicking of the other bird, which is always bound by all the things which is happening. So he is free from sankalpas. He who is free from sankalpas and plans. Even though living in the body, he is free like the air, like the sky. Even though he lives in the body, he has to live in the body, as he's already said. As long as even if you are an enlightened soul, liberated soul. As long as your prarabdha karma lasts, this body will last. And so he has to continue with all the actions that the body has to do during a lifetime. But he's not bound by it. That's the whole point. Even though he lives in the body, he's free like the sky or the air or anything. Like the bird, this little bird, one is like the birds pecking on the fruits, the other is the bird which watches totally unattached, totally undifferentiated. So this is the I think we'll stop here because it's a very, very important state when he says that he gives the example of the two birds, which is very often given by in many as I said, the Mundagopanishad. It has also been said in the Bhagavad Gita, as you know. So because of this, I think we will stop here, even though we have 1 minute left. I think 1 minute left. So we will stop here and do this thing. Okay. Oh, if you have any questions, as I said, you can ask tomorrow. Tomorrow we meet again at the same time, 11 to 12, by God's grace. Even though it was very cloudy and murky, we have had no problems with the Wi-Fi. Let us hope the same thing happens for tomorrow. Any one of you who want to ask questions, even on this Udhhava Geeta, I'll be happy to answer them tomorrow to the best of my ability. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhave. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu.